You see, these are the men you owe. The basement smelled like burnt copper in 20 years of regret. I crouched in front of the electrical panel, sweat dripping onto the concrete floor when my 13-year-old son, Danny, burst through the door like his hair was on fire. "Dad, I need to tell you something," he whispered, his face pale as drywall primer. "I am Mick Parish, owner of Parish Electric, and I've been fixing other people's problems for 2 decades. But nothing in my toolbox prepared me for what my kid was about to tell me." "What's wrong, Danny?" I sat down my wire-cutting tool and turned to face him. "Mum's upstairs with some guy in your bedroom." His voice cracked. "The guy said if I told anyone, he'd make sure I regretted it." The words hit me like a live wire. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, a business we built together. And Beth was upstairs screwing some stranger in our bed, while I fixed the electrical problems she'd been complaining about all week. What did this guy look like? I kept my voice steady, but inside something fundamental had just shorted out. Tall, dark hair, wearing a suit. "He drives a red BMW, Dad. He grabbed my arm when he saw me." Left marks. Danny rolled up his sleeve, showing finger-shaped bruises. That's when the last circuit breaker in my brain flipped. Some bastard was not only sleeping with my wife, but threatening my son in my house, in my bed. "Danny, listen to me carefully. Go to your room, pack a bag, and go to Grandma's house. Tell her I'll call her tonight. But Dad, now son, trust me." After Danny left, I sat in that basement for 10 minutes, staring at the tangle of wires above my head. Funny how electricity works. You can have perfect voltage, perfect amperage, but if there's a short somewhere, the whole system fails. That's what had happened to my marriage, apparently. Somewhere along the line, Beth had found herself a new circuit. I pulled out my phone and set it to record, then headed upstairs. The house was quiet now. Too quiet. Beth was in the kitchen humming and making coffee like nothing had happened. She wore a silk robe I'd never seen before, and her hair was messed up in a way that told the whole story. "Hey, honey," she said without looking at me. "How's the electrical work coming?" "Interesting question," I said, setting my phone on the counter. "Seems like there's been some unauthorized wiring going on in this house." She turned around and for just a second, I saw panic flash across her face. Then the mask slipped back on. "I don't know what you're talking about. Danny told me about your visitor, the one who threatened him." Beth's coffee mug hit the floor, shattering into pieces. "Danny's confused. He's been having problems at school, making up stories." "Show me your phone." "What? Your phone?" "Beth, show me your call history." She clutched the robe tighter. "I don't have to show you anything." "This is ridiculous, Mick. You're being paranoid." I walked over and picked up the largest piece of the broken mug. On the bottom, in gold lettering, it read, "DJ's real estate making dreams come true." "DJ, huh? That's cute." "Real subtle." Beth's face went white. "That's just a promotional mug. I got it at the grocery store." "Right. And I suppose you got that new robe at the grocery store too, along with that perfume you're wearing that smells nothing like the stuff you've worn for 20 years. She started crying then, but they were the wrong kind of tears. Crocodile tears. Performance tears. "Mick, please. You're scaring me." "I'm scaring you." "Lady, you haven't seen scary yet, but you will." I picked up my phone, stopped the recording, and walked toward the garage. Behind me, Beth was calling someone, her voice urgent and low. In my workshop, surrounded by the tools of my trade, I made a decision. You can't fix a short circuit by ignoring it. Sometimes you have to strip everything down to the bare wires and start over. And sometimes you have to burn the whole house down. The next morning, I drove to my office with a plan forming in my head like a blueprint. Parish Electric occupied a small building on Industrial Avenue. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. The sign out front read, "No job too small, no problem, too big." Time to put that to the test. My secretary Linda looked up when I walked in. "Morning, Mick. You look like heck." "Feel worse." "Linda, I need you to pull all our client files for the past 6 months. Cross-reference them with anyone named DJ." "DJ like the initials?" "Yeah. Real estate guy drives a red BMW. Thinks he's God's gift to married women." Linda raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. That's why I'd kept her around for 15 years. She knew when to mind her own business. An hour later, she knocked on my office door. Found him. Darren Joseph Jocelyn goes by DJ Jocelyn Real Estate on Maple Street. We did electrical work for 3 of his property flips this year. I pulled up his file on my computer. There he was, 6'2", dark hair, cocky smile in his business photo. The kind of guy who probably called himself an entrepreneur and drove his BMW to the country club every weekend. What else do you know about him? His daddy's a retired police chief. DJ grew up thinking rules didn't apply to him. Word around town is he's got a thing for married women. Thinks it's a game. My phone buzzed. Text message from Beth. "We need to talk. Kids are asking questions." I showed Linda the message. "What do you think?" I think your wife's worried you're going to do something stupid. She's half right. I'm going to do something, but it won't be stupid. I spent the rest of the morning making calls, first to my lawyer, then to a private investigator I'd used for insurance fraud cases. By lunch, I had a plan. The PI, a former cop named Randy Morrison, met me at Murphy's Diner. Randy was built like a fire hydrant and had the personality to match blunt, reliable, and impossible to knock over. "So, your wife's cheating," he said, cutting into his meatloaf. "Join the club. Half the guys in this town got the same problem." "It's not just the cheating, Randy. This DJ character threatened my son, left bruises on his arm." Rye's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "That changes things. You got pictures of the bruises?" "Yeah. And an audio recording of Beth trying to cover it up." "Good. What do you want me to do?" "Everything. Phone records, financial records, surveillance photos. I want to know what DJ had for breakfast and how much he paid for it." "That'll cost you." "I don't care. This bastard made it personal when he put his hands on my kid." Randy nodded. "Give me a week. I'll have enough dirt on this guy to bury him." That afternoon, I drove past DJ's office. Joslin Real Estate sat between a nail salon and a payday loan place, which seemed fitting. Through the window, I could see him at his desk talking on the phone and gesturing with his free hand, probably selling some poor family a house with faulty wiring. My phone rang. Beth again. "Mick, where are you? The kids want to know why Danny went to your mother's." "Tell them the truth, Beth. Tell them their mother's a hoe." "How dare you? How dare I?" "Lady, you're screwing another man in our bed and that man threatened our son. I'd say I'm showing remarkable restraint." "It's not what you think." "Really? Then what is it? Enlighten me." Silence on the other end. "Then I want a divorce." "Funny. So do I. But I'm going to make sure you don't get a dime. And I'm going to make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of person you are." I hung up and drove to the hardware store. If Beth wanted to play games, I'd show her how a real professional handles a job. The Copper Tap was the kind of bar where electricians, plumbers, and contractors went to complain about their lives over cheap beer and stale pretzels. The neon sign flickered, probably a loose connection, and the parking lot was full of work trucks and motorcycles. I found Randy at the bar nursing a Budweiser and talking to Kylie Peterson, who cut hair at sheer perfection and knew everyone's business in town. "Mick." Kylie waved me over. "Randy was just telling me about your situation. Honey, I'm so sorry. Beth always acted like she was better than the rest of us, but I never thought she'd pull something like this." I ordered a beer and sat down. "What do you know about DJ Joslin?" Kylie's eyes lit up. "Oh, that piece of work. He's been through half the married women in town. His daddy always got him out of trouble when he was younger, and he never learned to keep it in his pants." "Anyone else know about him and Beth?" "Honey, everyone knows. Beth's been getting her hair done twice a week for the past month, buying new clothes, acting all secretive. Plus, DJ's been bragging at the country club about his new project." My grip tightened on the beer bottle. "Project? That's what he calls married women." "Projects like their houses he's flipping." Randy leaned in. "I got some preliminary info on your boy DJ. He's got money problems, big ones. His real estate business is about to go under, and he owes the IRS about 50 grand in back taxes. So, he's looking for a sugar mama. Looks like it. Your wife's got access to your business accounts, right?" The pieces started falling into place. Beth had been asking a lot of questions about the business lately. How much we had in the bank, what our assets were worth, whether I'd updated my will recently. "She's planning to take me for everything," I said. Kylie nodded. "That's the word around town. DJ's been telling people he's got a big score coming up, enough to pay off his debts and then some." I finished my beer and stood up. "Thanks for the information, both of you." "What are you going to do?" Randy asked. "I'm going to give DJ exactly what he deserves." The next morning, I drove to DJ's house. He lived in Willowbrook Estates, the fancy part of town where all the houses looked the same and the lawns were perfect. His red BMW sat in the driveway like a monument to his own ego. I parked across the street and waited. At 8:30, DJ came out in his expensive suit, talking loudly on his phone. He got in the BMW and drove off, probably to meet another project. I walked up to his car and knelt down beside the front tire. One quick twist of my utility knife, and the air started hissing out. I did the same to the other 3 tires, then pulled out a business card and stuck it under his windshield wiper. On the back of the card, I'd written, "You picked the wrong toolbox in MP." By the time I got back to my office, my phone was ringing. "You son of a witch." DJ's voice was shaking with rage. "I know you slashed my tires." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't play dumb with me, Parish. This is harassment. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. Tell them how you threatened a 13-year-old boy." I'm sure they'll be real sympathetic. That kid's lying. The bruises on his arms say different. So does the recording I have of my wife trying to cover for you. Silence. Then what do you want? I want you to stay away from my family. All of them. And if I don't, then you'll find out what happens when you mess with a man who knows how to wire a house and unwire it. I hung up and smiled. Round one to me. 3 days later, Randy called with an update. You're going to love this, he said. Your boy DJ has been busy. Phone records show he's been calling Beth 6-7 times a day. But here's the interesting part. He's also been calling a divorce lawyer. Planning ahead gets better. I followed him yesterday. He met with Beth at the Marriott downtown, room 237. I got pictures. Send them to me. Already did. Check your email. The photos were everything I needed. Beth and DJ entering the hotel room together. DJ's hand on her back. Beth laughing at something he said. DJ kissing her in the parking lot afterward. But the best picture was the last one. DJ handing Beth a manila envelope. What's in the envelope? I asked Randy. Don't know yet, but I'm working on it. My guess is divorce papers or maybe financial documents. That evening, I drove to the house to pick up some clothes. Beth was waiting for me in the kitchen, dressed like she was going to a business meeting. We need to talk, she said. I'm listening. She slid a folder across the table. These are divorce papers. I'm filing tomorrow. I opened the folder and read through the documents. Beth was asking for half of everything. The business, the house, my retirement accounts, even my tools. This is generous, I said. Considering you're the one who broke our marriage vows, I'm entitled to half of what we built together. We didn't build anything together, Beth. I built it. You just spent the money. Her face flushed red. I raised your children while you were out working all hours. I kept this house running while you were crawling around in other people's basement. I earned my share by sleeping with DJ Jocelyn. That has nothing to do with this. Really? Because according to these papers, you want spousal support too. Permanent spousal support. That's a lot of money for someone who's about to shack up with a real estate agent. Beth's composure cracked. DJ and I are just friends. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Rye's photos. Funny way of showing friendship. She grabbed for the phone, but I pulled it back. How long, Beth? How long have you been planning this? Planning what? Don't insult my intelligence. You and DJ cooked this up together, didn't you? He gets his debts paid off. You get half my business and I get screwed. You're paranoid, am I? Then explain this. I showed her another photo. DJ handing her the envelope. What's in the envelope, Beth? She stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to explain anything to you. Sign the papers, Mick. Make this easy on everyone. Easy. You want easy? Here's easy. Get out of my house. This is my house too. Not anymore. I changed the locks yesterday. Her mouth fell open. You can't do that. I just did. Your stuff is in garbage bags on the front porch. You've got 5 minutes to get it and get out. I'll call the police. Go ahead. Tell them how you've been committing adultery and your boyfriend threatened a minor. See how that works out for you. Beth grabbed her purse and stormed toward the front door. This isn't over, Mick. No, it's not. It's just getting started. After she left, I called Randy. I need you to step up the surveillance. I want to know everything DJ does. Everyone he talks to everywhere he goes. What are you planning? I'm going to give this town something to talk about. The next morning, I drove to sheer perfection. Kylie was cutting an elderly woman's hair, but she waved me over when she saw me through the window. Mick, how are you holding up? I've been better. Can I talk to you for a minute? She finished with her customer and walked over. What's on your mind? I need a favor. A big one. Name it. I need you to spread some information around town. True information. Kylie grinned. Honey, you came to the right place. What kind of information? I told her about DJ's financial problems, his pattern of targeting married women, and his plan to use Beth to pay off his debts. By the time I finished, Kylie was practically vibrating with excitement. That bastard, she said. Using your wife like that. Don't worry, Mick. By tomorrow, everyone in town will know what kind of man DJ Jocelyn really is. What about Beth? What about her? She made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. I left the salon feeling better than I had in days. Sometimes the best revenge is just telling the truth. By Friday, the whole town was buzzing. Kylie had done her job well. Everywhere I went, people were talking about DJ Jocelyn and his projects. The story had grown in the telling, as stories do. And now DJ was being painted as a predator who specifically targeted married women with money. I was having coffee at Murphy's Diner when my phone rang. It was Maddie, my 15-year-old daughter. Dad, I need to talk to you. What's wrong, sweetheart? It's about Mom and that man she's with. What about them? Can you meet me at the park? I don't want to talk about this over the phone. 20 minutes later, I found Maddie sitting on a bench by the duck pond. She looked older than 15, worn down by the weight of adult problems. Dad, Mum's been lying to me, she said without preamble. About what? About everything. She told me you kicked her out for no reason. She said you were having a mental breakdown, and that's why Danny went to Grandma's. I sat down beside her. What changed your mind? I heard her talking to DJ on the phone. She was laughing about how stupid you were, how easy it was going to be to take everything you've worked for. Mattie's voice cracked. She called you a sucker, Dad. The rage that had been simmering in my chest for days finally boiled over. Not just because of what Beth had said about me, but because she'd involved our children in her lies. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Maddie. DJ was there too. I could hear him in the background. He said once they got your money, they'd move to Florida, and I could visit on holidays if I was good. What? They're planning to leave, Dad. Take the divorce settlement and disappear. I pulled out my phone and called Randy. Where are you? Following DJ. He's at the bank downtown. Which bank? First National. He just went in with a briefcase and a woman I don't recognize. Tall blonde. Looks like she used to be pretty. That's her. That's my wife. Stay on them. I'm on my way. I drove downtown with Maddie in the passenger seat. She'd insisted on coming, and I didn't have time to argue. We parked across from First National and waited. 10 minutes later, Beth and DJ came out of the bank. Beth was carrying a manila envelope, and both of them were smiling. They just cleaned out our accounts, I said. Can they do that? Beth's name is on all the business accounts. Legally, she can withdraw whatever she wants. My phone buzzed. Text message from Beth. Thanks for making this so easy. The papers are filed. You'll be served Monday. I showed the message to Maddie. Her face went white. She really did it. Yeah, she did. What are we going to do? I watched DJ's BMW pull out of the parking lot, Beth in the passenger seat. They were probably going to celebrate their big score, maybe book their tickets to Florida. We're going to show them what happens when you steal from an electrician. That evening, I met Randy at the Copper Tap. The bar was crowded with the usual Friday night crowd: construction workers, mechanics, guys who worked with their hands for a living. Good, honest people who understood the value of loyalty. They cleaned me out, I told Randy. $43,000 from the business account, another $25,000 from our savings. That's theft. Not legally. Beth's name was on the accounts. So, what's the plan? I looked around the bar at all the faces I'd known for years. These were my people. They'd understand what needed to be done. I'm going to give DJ Jocelyn a lesson in electrical safety. What kind of lesson? The permanent kind. Randy raised his beer. Count me in. Word spread quickly through the bar. By closing time, I had a dozen volunteers ready to help me settle the score with DJ. But this wasn't going to be some drunken mob scene. This was going to be precise, professional, and devastating. Meet me at my shop tomorrow night, I told them, and bring your tools. Saturday night, 12 men gathered in my workshop. They represented every trade in town. Plumbers, carpenters, electricians, mechanics, men who understood that when someone steals your livelihood, you don't call a lawyer. You handle it yourself. Randy had done his homework. DJ and Beth were staying at the Willowbrook Motor Lodge, room 15. DJ's BMW was parked right outside their door like a red flag waving in front of a bull. Here's what we're going to do, I said, spreading out the plans I'd drawn up. This isn't about revenge. This is about justice. DJ Jocelyn thinks he can steal from working people and get away with it. We're going to show him he's wrong. The plan was simple but effective. While DJ and Beth slept, we'd surround the motor lodge. Then we'd wake them up and invite DJ to return what he'd stolen. If he refused, we'd make him an offer he couldn't refuse. At 2:01 in the morning, we moved into position. Randy and I approached room 15 while the others spread out around the parking lot. I could hear voices inside. DJ and Beth arguing about something. I knocked on the door. Room service. The voices stopped. Then DJ's voice. We didn't order room service. Complimentary bottle of champagne, sir, from the management. I heard the chain rattle and the door opened to crack. DJ peered out, wearing nothing but boxer shorts and a confused expression. There's no champagne, he started to say, then saw my face. Oh crap! He tried to slam the door, but I was already pushing it open. Randy and I stepped inside and DJ stumbled backward. Evening, DJ. Nice place you got here. Beth was sitting on the bed in a hotel bathrobe, her face pale with terror. Mick, what are you doing here? I came to collect what's mine. DJ had found his voice again. You can't just break in here. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Tell them how you stole $68,000 from a local business. That wasn't stealing. Beth had every right to that money. Did she have the right to clean out my business accounts? The money I used to pay my employees. DJ's cocky expression faltered. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and showed him the bank surveillance photos Randy had obtained. These say different. Beth stood up from the bed. Mick, please, we can work this out. You're right, we can. Here's how it works. You give me back every penny you stole, and I don't let my friends outside express their feelings about thieves. What friends? DJ asked. I walked to the window and opened the curtains. In the parking lot, 11 men stood in a semicircle around DJ's BMW. They all held tools, hammers, crowbars, sledgehammers, tire irons. Those friends, DJ's face went white. You can't do this. I'm not doing anything. I'm just asking politely for my money back. And if we don't give it to you, I shrugged, then I leave and you deal with them. But I should warn you, some of those guys have been drinking and they're pretty upset about what you did to their friend. Beth grabbed DJ's arm. Give him the money. We don't have it anymore. We already transferred it. To where? DJ's silence was answer enough. He'd moved the money somewhere I couldn't touch it. Probably an offshore account or a safe deposit box. Wrong answer, I said, and walked toward the door. Wait, DJ called after me. What do you want? I turned back. I want justice. You stole from me. You threatened my son, and you destroyed my family. Now you get to pay the price. I'll give you half back. Not good enough. 3-4, still not good enough. Then what? I smiled. I want you to leave town tonight. Don't pack. Don't say goodbye. Just get in your car and drive. If I see you in this town again, if I hear you've contacted Beth or my children, if you so much as send a postcard from wherever you end up, my friends and I will finish what we started tonight. You can't make me leave, can I? I opened the door and waved to the men in the parking lot. They started walking toward the room, tools in hand. DJ grabbed his clothes from a chair. Okay, I'll leave, but I'm keeping the money. No, you're not. I pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to him. This is a promissory note. You're going to sign it, acknowledging that you owe Parish Electric $68,000 plus interest. I'm not signing anything. The sound of breaking glass came from the parking lot. Someone had put a brick through DJ's windshield. Sign it, DJ, before they get creative. With shaking hands, DJ signed the promissory note. Then he finished getting dressed while Beth sobbed on the bed. This isn't over, he said as he headed for the door. Yes, it is. DJ walked out into the parking lot where the men parted to let him pass. His BMW looked like it had been through a hailstorm. Every window was broken, the tires were flat, and someone had spray-painted thief across the hood. Looks like you'll need a ride, I said. One of the men tossed DJ a bus ticket. Greyhound leaves at 6. I'd be on it if I were you. DJ looked at the ticket, then at the faces surrounding him. He knew he was beaten. What about my car? What about it? You can't drive it anyway. DJ picked up his suitcase and started walking toward the road. The men watched him go, then began to disperse. The show was over. I turned back to Beth, who was still sitting on the bed. You can come home if you want, but the rules have changed. What rules? My rules. My house, my business, my family. You want to be part of it. You play by my rules. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. What if I don't want to come back? Then don't. But you don't get a dime from me, and you don't get to see the kids until they're old enough to decide for themselves. You can't keep me from my children. Watch me. I left her sitting there and walked out to the parking lot. Randy was waiting by his truck. Think he'll stay gone? He asked. He's not stupid. He knows what happens if he comes back. What about the money? I'll get it back eventually. The promissory note is legally binding. If he doesn't pay, I can garnish his wages wherever he ends up. And Beth. I looked back at the motel room. The light was still on, and I could see Beth's silhouette through the window. Beth made her choice. Now she gets to live with it. Monday morning, I was back at work like nothing had happened. Linda looked surprised to see me. I thought you'd be in court today, she said. Change of plans. DJ Jocelyn left town yesterday permanently. What about the divorce? Beth can file all the papers she wants. Without DJ backing her up, she's got no case. The phone rang all morning with calls from customers who'd heard about what happened at the motor lodge. Word travels fast in a small town, especially when it involves justice being served. By noon, I had 3 new contracts and a waiting list of people who wanted Parish Electric to do their work. Apparently, standing up to thieves was good for business. Danny came home from his grandmother's that afternoon. He looked older somehow, like the events of the past week had aged him beyond his 13 years. Is it over, Dad? He asked. It's over. What about Mom? What about her? Is she coming home? I knelt down so I was at eye level with him. I don't know, son. That's up to her. But whatever happens, you and Maddie are my priority. Not her, not anyone else. You two come first. He nodded solemnly. I'm sorry I told you about Mom and that man. Maybe if I hadn't said anything. Don't you dare apologize for telling the truth. You did the right thing, Danny. You protected this family. But everything fell apart. No, son. Everything that was already broken just became visible. Sometimes that's the only way to fix things. That evening, Maddie and I were having dinner when Beth called. I want to come home, she said. Where are you? Still at the motel. DJ left me here with nothing. No money, no car, no way to get home. That's what happens when you trust a thief. Mick, please, I made a mistake. I know that now. You made a lot of mistakes, Beth. You cheated on me. You stole from me. You lied to our children. And you threatened to take everything I've worked for. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of behavior. I can change. Maybe you can, but not here. Not with me. What does that mean? It means you burned this bridge when you decided DJ Josen was more important than your family. Some things can't be fixed, Beth. Some things are just broken forever. I hung up and turned back to Maddie, who'd been listening to the conversation. You're not taking her back? She asked. No. Good. She doesn't deserve you, Dad. She doesn't deserve any of us. The next morning, I drove to the motel to check out Beth's room. The desk clerk, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, shook her head when I asked about room 15. She left about an hour ago. Some woman picked her up in a blue Honda. Did she say where she was going? Nope, just paid her bill and left. I never saw Beth again. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved in with her sister in Pennsylvania, but I didn't try to contact her. As far as I was concerned, that chapter of my life was closed. The divorce papers never got filed. Without DJ's support, and with no money for a lawyer, Beth couldn't afford to pursue it. Eventually, she just disappeared from our lives entirely. Danny and Maddie adapted better than I expected. Kids are resilient, and they'd both seen enough of their mother's behavior to understand why I'd made the choices I did. 3 months later, Randy brought me the final piece of the puzzle. DJ had been arrested in Miami for real estate fraud. Apparently, his pattern of targeting married women wasn't limited to our town. He'd been running the same scam across 3 states. He's looking at 5 to 10 years, Randy told me over beers at the Copper Tap. What about the money? Frozen by the feds. You'll get it back eventually, once they sort out all his victims. How many victims? Dozens. Looks like DJ was a lot busier than we thought. I raised my beer in a mock toast. Here's to DJ Joselin. May he rot in federal prison. Amen to that. The bar was crowded that night, full of familiar faces and friendly conversation. These were my people, the ones who'd stood by me when everything fell apart. They'd helped me when I needed it most, and I'd never forget that. Kylie walked over from her table in the corner. Mick, honey, I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. What you did took real courage. I just did what needed to be done. That's what I mean. A lot of men would have just rolled over and taken it. You fought back. Sometimes fighting back is the only option. She nodded and returned to her table, but her words stayed with me. I had fought back and I'd won. Not just against DJ and Beth, but against the kind of thinking that says good people should just accept being victimized. A year later, Parish Electric was thriving. I'd hired 2 new electricians and bought a second truck. The business Beth had tried to steal was now worth twice what it had been when she left. Danny was doing well in school and had joined the baseball team. Maddie was dating a nice boy from her class and talking about college. They both seemed happy and well-adjusted despite everything they had been through. I never remarried. I dated a few women over the years, but nothing serious. I'd learned to be careful about who I trusted with my heart and my family's future. On quiet evenings, when the kids were doing homework and the house was peaceful, I sometimes thought about Beth and DJ. I wondered if they ever thought about the damage they caused, the lives they disrupted with their selfishness and greed. But mostly, I didn't think about them at all. They were part of my past, and I was focused on the future, and my children's future. The house felt different now, cleaner somehow, like removing Beth and her lies had cleared the air. The electrical system worked perfectly, all the circuits properly connected and carrying their load without strain. Sometimes the only way to fix what's broken is to strip it down to the bare wires and start over. Sometimes you have to burn out the old connections before you can make new ones. And sometimes justice looks like a man standing in a parking lot at 2 in the morning, surrounded by friends who understand that some lines should never be crossed. DJ Joselin had crossed that line when he threatened my son. Beth had crossed it when she chose money over family. They'd both learned that actions have consequences, and some consequences last forever. I'd kept the promissory note DJ signed that night at the motel. It was framed on the wall of my office next to my business license, and a photo of Danny and Maddie. A reminder that sometimes the good guys do win, as long as they're willing to fight for what's right. The federal prosecutors eventually recovered most of the money DJ had stolen from his various victims. I got back every penny he'd taken from Parish Electric, plus interest and penalties. It was more money than I'd ever seen at one time, and I put it to good use. College funds for the kids, a new truck for the business, and a nice vacation to Disney World that Danny and Maddie still talked about years later. Beth never tried to contact us again. I heard she'd married some guy in Pennsylvania and had another kid. But I didn't care enough to verify the information. She'd made her choice, and she was living with it, just like I was living with mine. The difference was I could sleep at night knowing I'd done the right thing. I'd protected my children, preserved my business, and stood up to people who thought they could take advantage of decent, hard-working folks. In the end, that was worth more than all the money in the world.